strange. Okay, so yeah, welcome to the Gen AI Art of the Possible. So my name is Ryan. I have been working for TSM for about 2 years, nearly 3 years now, and I've kind of do a bit of design, bit of build as well. And to do with AI, I went to a boot camp in Paris in July, I believe, and where I learned how to really get involved with AI and how AI works. So hopefully my experience here should come across. We'll see.
And my name is Richard Beck. I've been in IT 20-something years, more years than I care to remember. Full stack developer to start with, and now specialising in the Ivalua side of things. My experiences of the Gen AI side with Ivalua was being involved in a thing called the EVA Cup, which we'll talk about later, and then we were looking at a particular requirement from a client. So from a developer's point of view, it was quite nice to get my hands on it. But yeah, been working for TSM now for nearly 4 years.
Okay, come on, computer. There we go. Okay, so we're going to discuss today Ivalua's implementation of EVA, which is the Gen AI product for Ivalua. So you can see here it says it's available from Ivalua 174. So any other system forward from that you'll be able to use the chat function and also the Gen AI. And it comes in 2 different packages, which is it's really 3, but the other package is chat and Gen AI together. So it's one or the other or both. And what we're going to cover today is what is generative AI, so what is AI, how it works, what is different in Ivalua to other AI programs, why is AI so useful for you guys, the customer, and what have we done with Gen AI so far, which is where Rich will take over. And then I'm going to show you some scenarios of us using the product on the system, and then we'll go through some summary and questions at the end. So what is generative AI? So you can think of it in like 4 different areas. So artificial intelligence is like a robot that can mimic a human. So anything that the human could do, an AI can do as well. Machine learning is that AI but a little bit smarter. So it can actually recognize patterns and take those patterns and teach other products, other AIs, how to do things. Then deep learning is where you take that a little bit further and you give it a brain, basically, a robot brain, where it can actually recognize complex patterns, such as, like, for example, all you guys in the room can recognize who you are, what you're saying, what you're talking about, even though everybody else is talking. And then generative AI is taking all of that information and then combining it all together and then creating from it. So it's a really, really good tool. Not scary, trust me, it's fine. It's not going to kill you. So how is it different? Well, Ivalua EVA is simple, so really simple. It's on every page of the product, so everywhere you go, there you'll see the chat box at the bottom. You'll be able to interact with it like on the image here, and you'll be able to ask it questions, simple questions, and it can then give you responses. It's intelligent as well, so it actually can access the data of the system. It can read from the data, read documents, things like that. And it also picks up on spelling mistakes, which we will show, because in one of the examples we have actually done a spelling mistake, but it still recognises what you're trying to say. And then it's adaptable as well. You don't need coding skills to do it. There's nothing you need to actually interact with it other than your ability to type. And it's quite intuitive as well. Like I said, it's going to let you query the system, query the internet, query documents. And it also has access to multiple language models, so we can actually handle quite a lot of queries with ease. And then finally, security. And I know a lot of people get quite scared about how AI is and how AI is going to interact with your system, but it's actually quite secure in Ivalua. It doesn't share any details with third parties, which is really good, so it won't train language models or anything like that, and it all stays in-house, so it'll stay in the Ivalua system. So it's going to be private and secure. One other thing to mention here, which is not on here, is that when you enter into the chat and you leave the page, it will actually delete the chat, so you won't have any history or record. And anytime. So why is AI useful for clients? Well, it shortens repetitive tasks. So for example, if you're going to be doing something like invoice, setting up an invoice, and you do that day after day after day, it's going to do that for you if you have like an OCR, for example. Or if you're going to be entering like supply records all day, it's going to fill in those fields for you if you set it up that way. So that's going to reduce a lot of the time it takes, and also it's going to give you back some of the time to focus on your decision making, strategic decisions, that sort of thing. It also reduces error-prone work, so it will fill in data, such as like a spreadsheet, into Ivalua and minimise those mistakes by automating it. And the brilliance of this is that it's going to improve your accuracy. It's going to find out what you've been making mistakes, like the spelling mistakes, and it's actually going to correct them for you if it's set up that way. And it's going to then reduce a lot of the costs for like repairing and fixing the data, or like fixing the documents and things like that. And then finally, it saves time on research. So what Eva can do is can actually go out to the internet. It can, hello. So it can go through the internet, it can search online resources, and it can look at things a lot faster than what you could do. So, for example, like if you want to look at like 10 reviews of a product, it will go out and it will look at all those 10 reviews probably in like a minute, whereas it would take you like a day probably. And it's the same with documents as well. So it actually summarizes the content without you really even doing anything, and gives you some analysis on this. And it's really useful if you want to go over a spec or an SOW or something like that and not have to sit and kind of go through it all day, which some people may have to. So that is the brilliance of what AI is. And let's go.
We've got a message on the laptop actually.
Oh, battery's running low. 1 second. That's probably why it wasn't working. There we go. So I'm going to pass you over to Rich now, who's going to go through the Eva Cup. And over to you.
Okay, so I think it was last December, Ivalua announced that they were going to do this thing called the Eva Cup, which was basically just trying to get companies and partners involved, building something around generative AI, just for us to experience it, but see what ideas we could come up with. The idea of the Cup was you had 48 hours to build something and then to present it. There was 40 odd teams from around the world took part, and Ryan and I were part of the team from TSM. We came up with an idea which we'll see on the slides in a minute, and then presented it. And to be fair, it was a great experience. We learned a hell of a lot about the product, about the AI offering. I found it, I got well stuck into it as a developer. I really enjoyed working on that. We also created a contract summarization skill. So I think you noticed on the previous slide there was a chat window down here, and it had a little skill box, so you can write your own skills, you can design your own skills with questions, and it'll answer as the generative AI will answer as it goes along. So we came up with skills and that for the Eva Cup and for the contract summarization, although in the end we went with buttons for the contract summarization as it looked a little bit more intuitive that way. So again, all of the things that we developed are just built on top of the standard offering, so you can adapt it to your own needs and you can develop with the tool. It works quite nicely.
Do you want to take it?
Shall I take it? That's easier, isn't it? I'm going to get the wrong button now. There we go. There we go. So yeah, as I say, we had 48 hours, so we thought, what can we possibly come up with? So we thought supplier creation. If we could just get Eva to accept the supplier name and address, we could get it to then fill in and create a whole supplier record for you. So we had this grand idea, 48 hours, why not? Let's see if we can tackle that. We had all these companies in mind, things we could go out there and get Eva to pull the data back and create the supplier record in Ivalua. In the end, with the 48-hour time frame, we had to scale it back a little bit. So we didn't end up getting all of this, but we did get some of it. It's working again. There we go. So yeah, what can we do? Just get in a supplier name and an address and get it to create that supplier record for you. So in the implementation, we had to ourselves learn how to use Eva and how to interact with Eva. There was some documentation released a week or two before the Cup, which gave us some understanding of how we'd be able to do that. So it was all hands to the pump, reading through that documentation, trying to get an understanding of it. The things that we really worked hard on in the implementation was how to get the AI to present a consistent result. If you ask the AI the same question over and over again, it will often come back with slightly different results. And given that we wanted to work with it programmatically at the end, we wanted to create a supplier record, we needed it back in a consistent manner. So actually crafting the question to the AI is a skill in itself, and getting it to return that format that you need. So that's something that we learned. We must have recrafted the question 100 times in the space of those 48 hours, just fine-tuning it to get the data that we needed and get it in the format we needed. How to handle even not being able to find the data we needed, because obviously the AI is not going to get everything every time. So it's going to come back with some fields that were empty, so we need to be able to cater for that in our coding side of things as well. And we actually asked Eva to give us what percentage it thought out of 100 the accuracy of the data was that it was returning. So it's quite clever in that it can assess itself and give us a percentage figure. Now then, this is the video that we did for the Eva Cup. There's no sound on this, so I'll just I'll talk you through it. Let's see if it's going to play.
We have tested this. It does work.
Not now though.
Do you want me to press play?
You might just press on it on there and it might start going. There we go.
Okay.
So yeah, we can see that we're going into the Eva chat window there, and I'm telling it that I want to invoke a skill which is to onboard a supplier. So it comes back with some generic stuff from the internet, I'm guessing, about what onboarding is, and we created our own little skill button here. So we enter the name of the vendor. This is where you'll spot spelling mistake in a minute. There's Touchstone, and I actually put Worship Street in. We work on Worship Street, but it still managed to find it, which is good. So what it does is it goes back and it tries to find Touchstone at Worship Street, and it's found it there on result 1. This is something that we weren't 100% sure how to do at the time. We only wanted the user to just enter 1 there, but we had to get them to copy and paste the data. And in the background we've honed the skill, we've coded the skill to go out and start looking for all the information that we need to create a supplier. So you've got the company number, you've got the address, you've got the website, postcode, VAT number, directors and things like that, and then a little bit more information that is scraped off the internet to bring back for us. And then you can see there that after it's done all of that, it's bye, I'm done, there's a supplier record for you to carry on and create and populate the other bits that we haven't been able to retrieve in those 48 hours that we had to code this thing up. So that's an example of it working, and there you can see what do you think the accuracy is of the data. Ignore the column headers because we didn't get a chance to rename those, but the company's house information, for instance, company's house API is open to the public. You can go on there yourself onto the website and grab the data. So the generative AI has just done that in the background using the address and postcode, and it's brought it back saying it thinks it's 100% accurate. There we go. So what we learned. Eva skills are a great place to implement the extended AI. Obviously, you just saw me typing the word on board there to start the skill, but you could, get it to ask multiple questions and go down and make decisions and branch off as a result of those answers. So I love that, and coding it is very intuitive. The wording of the system prompt and user prompt, bit of a technical thing, but yeah, as I say, honing that is a skill in itself. Writing it in the correct English is the best way to put it. It's difficult, and you have to be very precise. You have to be, for instance, we tried to get it to return the information in a JSON format. We had to tell it which JSON format. We had to go down to the level of which standard we wanted it to pass it back, and then it would be consistent. So it's about that specificity. And yeah, as I say, the other thing we learned was how easy it was to start writing these things. The toolkit that's available in Ivalua is nice and easy to use and intuitive. And having that decision tree and the branching structure is very simple. So that was the Eva Cup. I will get to the next slide in a minute. It's going to jump about 10 in a second, isn't it?
I'll just do it.
So the next thing was actually a client requirement, which was to do contract summarization, so to extract terms and obligations out of contract documents. So again, we wanted to make use of the Eva to effectively take a document and read through it, extract those obligations, and then put them into the obligations section on the contract in Ivalua. So we implemented an Ask Eva callback functionality. So as I say, we didn't use the chat side of it. We put some buttons on the screen which were programmable that we programmed, and click the button, and I'll show you through some screenshots of what we managed to achieve there. We were throwing, yeah, thank you. We were throwing documents at this that were about 20 or 30 pages long, and it was pulling back, and the accuracy was pretty good actually in terms of the obligations it was extracting. So here we are on the document screen on the contracts in Ivalua, and we created these nice pink buttons here with the extract obligations button. So there's a document loaded down there at the bottom. So when you press that button, it would take that document and extract the terms and obligations from it for you. Next slide please, Ryan, because this thing's not working. What we've learned since, but what we had to do at the time was to get it to extract the obligations into a box down here, again, because we need to work with this programmatically, we need it in a prescribed format. Could have hidden that box at the end of the day, but ultimately the client required the ability to export the obligations into a usable format, so we wanted to export that into Excel for them. So having it down there, we could then throw that another callback on that button, which would extract it into Excel, so they could have a look through the obligations and the terms that had been extracted, and make sure they were all there and compare it back to the original document if needed. Once they'd finished with that, once they were happy with that, they wanted the functionality to upload it, and we're back into sort of more standard Ivalua functionality there, where there's a button here, I think on the next slide, Ryan, I think that was the Excel format that it would come out in with all the obligations extracted from the document. Hit the upload button once they were happy with that, and I think there's another slide that shows the results, and they're loaded into the negotiated terms tab with the obligations down here that were uploaded through the ETL. So again, that's the generative AI extracting all that data from the document. Admittedly, somebody should always check it, but it's saving a heck of a lot of time that just doing that. Moving on. So again, from that piece of work, what have we learned? Well, again, using Eva from the Ivalua platform objects this time, rather than through the sort of conversational chat window. Again, it was very easy to implement, quite intuitive. I had quite a lot of fun doing that one. And again, like I said there, whilst the chat window is quite intuitive to people to interact with, the actual functionality of having it on the buttons is far easier. In my opinion, rather than having to open a window, type in a command and whatnot. So that I think that made it quite simple. And again, we learned yet again how to craft system and user prompts, and I think that's going to be quite a key thing in the coming years. Is writing those is a skill in itself. Yeah. I think we're now
back to me.
Back to you to show the. Do you want this?
I'll just put it on the table.
There's a bin over there.
That's that. Yeah, thanks, Rich.
All right.
So then I'm going to kind of expand that now, and I'm going to show you 5 scenarios which we think will Ivalua have as standard, apart from the top one which I built, is things that we think that you guys might benefit from, the things that you guys might use in your everyday work. So first off, we have my one that I built, which is the company information from Company's House. So very similar to what we did for the Eva Cup. I've kind of expanded it, and I've made it so that it doesn't have any kind of like the errors, because now I know what I'm doing. I didn't when we were doing this originally. So what it does is it literally just goes out to Company's House, brings back the company information number, and then enters it into the supplier record, and allows you to then save it and use it as you would normally. This can obviously be further expanded as well. Then we have the questionnaire builder, which is literally the best saving time method ever, which is literally something that would take me probably a day to build a questionnaire. It's going to take me 10 minutes or even less. So that's a really good idea. Literally, Eva will create it for you. Then we've got the product descriptor, which is where you've got a product on the system and you want to find out more information about it, whether or not you want to buy it, and it's going to go to the internet, search loads of like websites, find information about it, reviews, similar products, better prices. So that's a really useful one, especially in procurement. And then legal assistant is for more the legal team, where they want to be able to create clauses. And so, for example, like if you want to create your own master clauses, you can do this through Eva. Eva will write them for you, and then you can like adjust it with the prompts, like we've said. And then contract summarization is the obligation extraction tool, but like the standard Ivalua version. And the reason why I put that in is because I want to show you kind of what we can do, like basically what we can do from something base and then take it and evolve it. So I'm going to show you those. So if I move over, hopefully this will work. So this is the company information number. So like I said, we're going to go into the supplier record. It should be working. There we go. And we're going to go into the supplier record. We're going to search for Tesco, and I'm going to look for this company information number for Tesco. So I'm just going to go into the record. I'm going to go to the company information number, company information tab. And then at the bottom here, we've got get company information number, which is a simple button. I haven't formatted it or anything. But what's going to happen is I'm going to click that button. Eva's going to then go out to the internet, go to the company's house, and then search for that, and then enter it into this field here. And it's simple as that. It's really simple, but it saves so much time, especially once you evolve this and you have a button at the top, for example, and have like get company information. And that's going to then fill out all the details of the supplier record, and that could save a lot of time. Could not always right, but you would basically learn from it and you expand the AI until it does get it right. And for example, that's something we can do. We can obviously expand that. We can create more buttons. We can do that for contracts. We can do that for sourcing. We can do it for any of the modules at the top. So that's a really simple one. Like I say, I built that one. It's not super fleshed out, but it's a really nice one to have. And that's just gone back to the same one again, hasn't it? Yeah. So the next one is questionnaire builder. So like I said, this is me creating a questionnaire from scratch using Eva. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the configure questionnaire screen. So there we go. Create a new template. And I might have to pause this because it's quicker than I like it. I can't. There you go.
Wrong button.
There you go. There you go. Right, we'll go back to it again. Oh, this is the wrong one now. Right, 1 second.
There you go. Oh, no.
Technology. Okay, so this is the questionnaire one. Yeah. Okay, I'll talk fast. So we're going to create a template. We're going to enter the details in the campaign. We're going to give it a description, which is really important because it helps the AI decide what we're doing. And then we're going to give it a type. So the description is quite detailed. So we're going to be adding like information about what we want in that questionnaire. And then we've got an instructions box when we save it, which is even more important because this is going to provide us with the prompt for Eva to actually create the template, which is here. And what that's done is it's like filtered it into questions, subsections, and then sections. And then what will happen is I'll go to the questionnaire and you'll see that that's been filled out for you. So like literally 2 minutes to do something that would take me a day. And then I can further expand that like you see here, and I can go into the required section, make it required, and do whatever else I need to do, and then submit it. One thing I can say here is what we could do to expand this further is we can obviously expand it so it does the required step for us. It can obviously add more questions, add like attachment fields, things like that. So the possibilities with the questionnaire is quite endless really, which I'm quite excited about. So that's the questionnaire builder. Then we've got the product descriptor. So like I said, this is going out to the internet and finding details about the product. So hopefully, let's do this. So first of all, I'm going to find the product. So I've got this mouse here, and I've decided that the Dell US one is the one I want. And then I can straight away go into it, and this is all the information that Eva's already come up with. This is already here as soon as you open the page. And what you can do then is you can, if it scrolls down to the bottom. I left this too long. Come on. There we go. So you've got some options here. So I can then search for similar products, pricing, reviews. So if I click pricing, you'll see that it's come back with some links that will take me to the websites to show better prices or prices that are different to this. And then I can do the same thing for similar products. So when it clicks the similar products, I think it must have been lunchtime when I did this. Come on. There we go. There you go. And so it's done the same thing again. It's searched the internet and it's got similar products they're basically review sites which can compare that to other products. And then finally we've got reviews as well. So we can have reviews that will go out and look at those products. And if still you're not happy, you can ask questions to Eva to refine it. So you can see here, I've noticed that it says here it's unsupported feature on Mac computers in the summary. So I've said, like, I have a Mac, so what mouse should I choose? Because if this is not like supported, then what should I buy instead? And so when I search that, Eva will come back with some information. There we go. So then you can see there's some websites there that Eva's got, which says like, these are Macs, these are the Mac mice. You can buy them from this website. This is the best one for this, and so on and so on. So that's one really nice way of like looking at a product, looking at the description and finding out some information about a product. It's especially helpful with procurement because obviously you guys want to find the best price for whatever products you're sourcing. We can expand that as well, so we can then change that. We can have it so that it automatically enters information. We can have it so that it actually creates products. So for example, if I wanted to buy that Mac mouse, then I could create a product and then I could have that set in the store. And even then I could then go into it and then compare it and do the same thing again. So it's kind of like a constant cycle of like creating cost saving and buying the best products for you. So that's the product descriptor. Then we have legal assistant. So again, legal assistant, I said it's about creating clauses. So in this one, I'm going to ask Eva what clause I want to make a clause for me, and you'll see it here. So it's going to be through the chat box, this one. So you'll see right at the bottom, I click on the Eva chat, and I'm going to ask a question, help me with a clause. And because I've created a skill already, or a skill's already been created, it's going to suggest a skill based on that statement, which is legal assistant. And it's going to give me some options. So I'm going to say draft a new clause. And then it's going to ask me to type a few letters of the type of clause. So I'm going to do confidentiality in this example. And this is going to be based on the already existing like clauses in the system. And then I can enter some special instructions, which I didn't here, I just skipped through, but you can add the extra instructions, which will kind of like tailor it to your liking. And then I can then take that as is, or I can expand that. So for example, I've asked it to add TSM as the disclosing party, and it will go through and fill in the details. And again, I'm going to ask it another question, which is to add 5 years to the survival clause, and it's just going to go and fill that in. So you can constantly keep developing it, expanding it, and Eva will start writing that out. Again, we can expand this as well. We can add more things to this, so we can ask it more questions, and we can ask it to go to the internet and find relevant clauses that are similar to this and that sort of thing. So again, another very useful feature of Eva going forward. Lots of expansion opportunities. And then the final one, well, I'll just go through this really quickly because obviously Rich has kind of already shown this as well. And this is contract summarization. So this is taking a document and looking at the document and giving us a summary of what the document says. So, I'm just going to open a document here. Okay, just going to pick a document. Okay, so then I'm going to summarize it. So this box here says summarize in language. I'm just going to select the language, so I've got English. And then I'm going to click summarize document. And on the right hand side, all it's going to do is Eva in a second has gone through the document and provided me with a summary of the key terms, and then underneath a summary of the obligations. Now this is a summary. It's not like every obligation, every key term, which is why we did what we did with the obligation extraction tool, is we've now expanded that. We've taken Eva and said, actually, we want every obligation, we want every key term, and then Eva's then gone away and found all these key terms, and then we've expanded that through buttons and obviously having the sources and everything like that. So this is just a guide to show you kind of what we have as standard and what we can take and do with it. So it's again like, you guys, if you have like use cases and things, then we can then try and expand it and to make it work for you guys. So there are my scenarios. So then we've got this, just to the end summary really. So we've kind of obviously see the benefits of Eva and how it works and how it's easy to access. Obviously there's loads of sources of information like documents and websites. Then you've got the automation of repetitive error-prone tasks. So that's going to save lots of time going forward. We can smooth out process pinch points. So like I said, like if you come across something that doesn't quite work and you think that the AI can maybe help, then you have the option there. And it also, this is something I haven't actually covered yet, which is it actually provides its opinion on results, which may not always be wanted, but it will unfortunately provide opinions. And it will ask you and basically say, this, I don't think this is accurate, or I think this is accurate, and sometimes it's not accurate, like Rich said with the sources. It says it's 100%, but sometimes it may not be, so you have to adjust it. And like I say, it's ease of use for the skills as well. So we can create new skills. This is something that we can do really quite simply. If, like I said, there's no coding or anything like that needed. So something that we can really get into and really get involved with. And then we've got the bottom here about the future extension of utilising the callback functionality. So like we said, with the obligation extraction tool, we actually can expand that and have it like on the press of a button, on a load of a page, that sort of thing. It will work and do its business. And then what I want to just say is, the last page is the same bit at the bottom, but is we just want to kind of have one thing with you guys really is to ask you for your collaboration, because we can kind of come up with ideas and come up with solutions, but we need you guys to give us use cases, because we need to know what you guys are struggling with, what you guys have issues with, and if we know that, then we can take it and we can make AI work for you. Because honestly, that it can do so much, and the more we know about it, the more we know from you guys, then the more we can do with it. So yeah, please let us know, obviously, going forward, if you have any issues and you want to kind of bring it to the table, because we'll love that. So that's it. So any questions? And yeah, be nice.
I've got 2 questions.
Yeah, go for it, Stuart.
So first one, does the AI build the buttons on the screen, or do you have to do that?
We have to do it separately, yeah. So it's the same as we would do a normal build. We would create that and then we'd link it to the AI process.
Okay. Second question, you mentioned data doesn't leave Ivalua.
Yeah.
Where Eva has to go to the internet to get onto this.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
does that work?
So it uses like a search function. I don't know the ins and outs of how it codes in the background, but all I know is it does delete the data. So it will search, it will delete data that it's done that search. But in terms of actually there going out to the internet, I'll have to probably come back to you on that one, because it's more complicated than I imagine. So, I can always come back to you on that one.
Thanks for the question. That was really good. Thank you both. I really enjoyed that. Can we move to 174 without Eva? Because we're quite risk averse until we've really understood it. Can we still go to 174 but
it's just
the
simple.
chat? Can we have it on as an object but not chat? Is it kind of...
Yeah, so there's, like I said, there's 3 separate ways of doing it. You can have the chat itself, you can have it without the chat and just have the Gen AI, or you can have none of it at all. But yeah, we can just switch it off if it's not needed, and then that's...
And how far off do you think we are? So one of the solutions that can be used for some of these tasks is offshoring the work to other humans, but then you still have, somebody here preparing what you're going to send off to be worked, and then probably being a quality gate when it comes back.
Yep.
How far off are we from... I mean, what you've shown us was pretty quick in getting some of these use cases done, but what's your kind of confidence level of making some of these BAU? Or it's just more development on use cases and testing?
I think to be honest, right now, a lot of that can be used.
Yeah.
It's just a case of like tailoring it to you guys.
Yeah.
Because the main thing is we want it to be seamless with you. Like we don't want it to be like you have to physically go and make something happen. Yeah. We just want it to be a part of your process. But it can be done. It's
so
just,
we could trial it. We could trial it and learn.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yep.
You mentioned it stayed within the Ivalua ecosystem.
Yeah.
I mean, other customers using Ivalua would.
Yeah, so it's different. So they would be separate by what server you're on. So, for example, if you're connected to yours, you won't have access to someone else's AI. So it's completely separate.
And have you got any use cases at the moment? Not necessarily obviously, but any customers who are using it and actively kind of engaging?
Not really at the moment. We have. We've got use cases that have been coming in, but we haven't actually physically set it up and got it built yet for anybody as such. The chat box functionality is working as it is. Anybody can use it as long as they have it. That works. There's no setup required for that. But in terms of the actual like use cases, we haven't got anything yet, but we obviously want that to happen soon.
What do you think the biggest obstacle is of that? I mean, how long has this been available?
Not long. Like I say, July is when I went to the boot camp, and that was when it was relatively new. I think the Eva Cup was December, wasn't it? That's when it first really started.
Yeah.
So it's relatively new still. So we're kind of starting on it. I think unless you've got extra bits,
No, there's a handful of customers using it in production for there's a standard set of use cases that Ivalua has created. But with the nature of it, it's something that partners can go and create their own use cases for customers as well. So it's growing, and we're hearing more and more use cases. At the moment, it started off almost as a solution without a problem, and now we're hearing what the problems are, so we can actually apply solutions, create proper solutions.
It's very kind of testing and just playing around a little bit like people have experienced ChatGPT, I suppose. Like it's playing around with it and finding what works for you.
And we're getting a lot of interest in things like sourcing evaluations and things like that. So actually looking at the responses from suppliers and actually giving you an evaluation of those. So that's the direction we're going, and something we're hearing. But we're trying not to drive the use cases ourselves. It's something that our customers have the problems, and that's what we're looking to solve. So this sort of invitation to collaborate is really important to try and understand what the customers need.
I think we have a very sort of comprehensive AI, but at the moment we're also quite thirsty to understand what's out there and to understand the use cases that could also, embellish our roadmap and things that we can actually start applying in real life. And I think some of that sometimes comes from the customers as well. There's a few standard things we will assess ourselves, but we're looking to drive this innovation with customers.
And I'd say as well that in our latest designs and things like that, we are kind of mentioning AI now more, which before we weren't, because obviously we didn't have it, and now it's starting to kind of be more of a focus. So it will come up more and more obviously as we go on, and so it will eventually start to become like one of the leading focuses of our builds. So it will take over eventually. And we also have an add-on store as well that we use as well. So there's like generic Ivalua use cases, like we just said, and you can then kind of download those from the add-on store. Obviously, depending on which ones they are, some of them are, I think, available for everybody to use. I think
most of the Gen AI ones are.
So they can be downloaded and used. Like most of these were taken from the add-on store, for example. Because they're the base stuff. I just wanted to show off that base today. Any other questions?
I guess it's more of an observation, but
sure.
I guess one of the things that you guys as a partner is around where not just use cases, but also where that return on investment is, because this isn't free, is it? And this edition isn't free, so it's got to pay back at the end of the day. It's a nice party trick. I can see that. I can absolutely see the use cases, but actually getting that real life experience and putting that into our business cases, I think is really important. I guess looking at you guys to help us with that, really.
Yeah, I think that's why the collaboration is important, isn't it? Because we can come up with AI solutions till the cows come home, but they might not be solving real world problems.
We don't want to thrust it down, We don't want to say take all this AI stuff because we want you to use it. It's more like you tell us what the issues are and we'll come up with solutions that will help you.
Is that Ivalua's own large language model it's based on? Or?
They use their own, but I think it's taken from...
It's Microsoft Open
it's taken from Open.
LLM, but it's been designed in a way that it can plug into different LLMs, but that's one we initially worked with. It's what it comes with out of the box, if you like, but if you had a different LLM, it could be plugged into that.
Anything else? Oh. Okay, shall I go to the last slide, Rich?
Well, we just thought it'd be fun to ask Eva what it thought it could be used for. So it came back with a few points there, and in conclusion, it thinks it's brilliant.
Hence the opinions, literally.
So there we go. I just thought I'd put that slide up at the end just for a little bit of fun.
And to be honest, most of this is stuff that we've already shown today, which is good. And there's obviously extra bits there, like for example, RFP generation and things like that, which we didn't cover. But it's got a lot of examples. Like spend analysis is probably a real good one as well to dive into, because everybody always has reports. So if AI can help generate reports, then that's going to save a lot of time.
Ryan, quick question, just on that then, because all of this is very sort of language heavy, it's all words and language as you show. But can all of this be pulled into, I don't know, dashboards, visuals, animation?
I don't know about so much about animation yet, but yeah, we can pull this into dashboards and things. We can get Eva to create like reports and things, so we can pull it in and use it as like our homepage, for example. We might have to come back to you on images and things like that, because we obviously know that like ChatGPT can create images and things, but we haven't tested that, and I'm not sure if it does that yet. But it may be something for the future as well to look into.
Do you mean reports or each draft?
Reports and also category management templates, for example, so category strategy documents. Could it display in the right
okay.
Yeah, so it will try to format it. Yeah, so if you prompt it to format it, it will format it in a way that you like. And I think it's just a case of just trying it out and see how it works. So, for example, if you wanted to make a template, then we're just going to have to ask it questions and see what it comes back with, and just keep building it until we get what we want. That's the beauty of it, is that we can just keep asking, and it doesn't get upset with us. We're just like jiving it all the time. I think we're good.
I think we're good then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.